Alrighty, it's 7 a.m. Call to order the meeting of 7 p.m. I think I did go to sleep.
Yeah.
Not get up with the rain. 7 p.m. We'll call to order the July 10th, 2023 meeting and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Do we have any amendments to the agenda for tonight? Nope. All right. So the minutes for the June 26th meeting. Do I have a motion to?
So
approve
moved.
those?
I'll second.
Tor, second by Joel. Any changes, discussions? They were very thorough. Thank you.
Yeah. Nice job, Kevin.
Lots of good information in there.
Yeah.
Everybody good?
Yep.
All right, all in favor? This is 5-0. Do we have any public comments not on the agenda items tonight? You want to come up and if you could keep it to 5 minutes, we would super appreciate it. Yep. you're good.
Good evening. My name is Paul Teenan. I'm here on a subject of traffic safety,
I'm sorry, Paul. Can you tell us where you live?
65 the Kings Highway.
Kings Highway. Great.
As I was saying, so I'm here on a representing a group of Newcastle representatives, residents, and also ALNA. There's been an informal conversation going on about traffic conditions across the Sheepscott Road from basically Route 218 to US 1. So this group has been meeting and we think that there's a time for us to begin to introduce the subject here in Newcastle. Alna's a little bit ahead and I'll explain all that. I wrote to Tor saying, here's where we are and how would we begin to introduce this to you for discussion and for thoughts and for some direction. So let me just move along here. So since May, there's been a discussion among neighbors in both Alna and Newcastle about the increased road traffic and the speed above posted levels across the Sheepscott Road, pretty much for its entire direction, which is about 3 to 4 miles going from 218 to US 1. Alna citizens have been ahead on this subject and are bringing their concern to their town representatives. They've also had preliminary conversations with the sheriff's office and are now they've been reaching out to us over the last several weeks to Newcastle neighbors to see about similarities, variances, and viewpoints on the subject. About 30 citizens have been meeting since May and then continuing with the email communications in between meeting dates. Alna has also had their selectman Ed Pantalleri in attendance, and they, I believe, are moving a recommendation for a change of a signage and with what I think there would be some other changes with their enforcement for that segment of the road that obviously is in their town. And that should be coming along later this month. So the part of this meeting for us to present to you is to give you this information and that we're looking for a similar approach that makes sense here in order to come up with some reasonable planning and decisions about the future pertaining to traffic safety on the road. Mentioned that my first instinct was to reach out to a member of the board. I select Tor to give him a similar summary to what I've done thus far, and ask for advice. His advice was when we were ready to come to here and speak during the 5-minute available period. So I think we have a situation where each town has to address their unique circumstances for jurisdiction and for enforcement. And there also are things just based on what is practical for making improvements that hopefully will bring about better traffic safety. So the request tonight ultimately is to ask you to consider and how we can develop a concrete planning process that can have favorable result with better safety across the range of Sheepscot Road and also the connecting residential roads that connect into that, all of which leading to the traffic pattern that exists on a daily and weekly basis. A lot of ideas, concepts, and preferences have been compiled with the group. And yet there is a lot more that we have recently learned about and that we can learn from our brother and sister communities. And it seemed logical that we would do that more successfully if it was some type of a mutual effort between citizens with interest and also some representation or process for this to be a type of working group on behalf of the town board. So for example, Whitefield is already implementing additional visible speed limit signs and enforcing with their use. Allen is on the way, as I've described. Bristol has added such installations as as that kind of a signage near their community park where the new passageway exists. Also the Bristol School, and also in New Harbor, where frankly there's a similarity to some of our roads, including this Sheepscot Road here. So they've taken a task to bring about improvements in that manner. And we think that before we speak to individuals that are in official positions like your own, or in tandem, we just decide about how we can collect more information and secure and make recommendations that make sense here in Newcastle. So the situation today, to give you a very quick sit rep, is that the Sheepscot Road, in present situation here in the jurisdiction of the Newcastle. So if you approximate to where the location of the Grange is at our end of the bridge and all the way out to Indian Trail. Presently, there are today 13 Department of Transportation reduced miles per hour traffic signs. It's about not quite 2 miles of road. The signs require speed changes to 25 and in other places 10 miles per hour in those areas. It's not done by traffic behavior nor by efforts at enforcement. The signs also carry messages such as curves ahead, speed redirection, and also hidden drives. So there's a multitude of messages that are hitting the drivers today at any time that they may pass through that. We just simply think that we have to find a better way and get about doing that process, working with the town through you to the sheriff's department and other interested parties. The last part I want to say is very fresh, and it happened Saturday. So we're already starting to see consequences. Consequences on the good side within my neighborhood is that in the last couple of years, we've seen young families with children of school age, and also those not yet school age. So population is changing, and the children are behaving in normal ways, one of which is actually attending school. And their way to get to school is by school bus. So this past Saturday, I had a friend who lives on the Sheepscott Road tell me about the new family living across from them, where there's now a new stop for the school bus to make. And they went through last week a situation where they had to come across with a stare down on a commercial class level truck who was behind the bus and didn't want to stop. So he laid on the horn. Now, these children, I don't know the family. The children are modestly small, perhaps second, third graders in one case, and one younger sibling. It's not the right thing. And I have to believe that the driver certainly had not been without speeding all the way across the Sheepscott Road in order to arrive at the butt end of the school bus. So this is what's changing, and the situation that we all want to consider as being avoidable, is already presenting itself. It's an illustration, but it's an illustration of what can get worse fast. And so I think that the citizens group, neighbors are right with our premises and concerns, but we need to figure out a practical, realistic way to create what would be a better practice with the speeding on this route. And the last thing I can say, but it's personal opinion, I don't know what other individuals would say about it. But frankly, I think the changes in Wiscasset and the changes along 218 and US 1 has changed. And I've been living at my home for 6 years. It's changed the pattern of traffic practice, made it much more commercial. It's put larger vehicles on a road that is not built for that, and certainly not to be speeding above the posted locations. And I think that's all a function of the work in Wiscasset that redirected traffic. I think it's also changing 218 to be much more, and it's built better than Sheepscott Road, to try to move heavy duty commercial interested vehicles, and they reach the arterials. We're just simply a satellite road in this manner, and that serves our neighborhood and our community. But the economics and the movement of commercial activity across, going south or north on Route 1 is changing the character, changing the speeding pattern and the characteristic of Sheepscott Road.
I wish I could say that that was the only road in town with speeding problems. People are, how do we get people to obey speed limits? I don't know. It's a problem everywhere. So
Right.
if we can come up. Have you guys had any suggestions, or do you know what Alna's doing?
Beg pardon?
Do you know what Alna's proposing at this point?
Not in detail. I think that they are bringing, at least for discussion, to their select board about these, interestingly named, th- th- these signs are electronic. They run on,
Yeah, the solar,
solar.
like coming down into Bristol Mills.
Yeah,
if not-
yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that they're moving towards that. I have no idea about their positioning. We actually, as individuals, neighbors, have not had that kind, you need that kind of expertise from either law enforcement or engineers, I think, in order to get the best bang. I mean, one of the things that has arrived through our dialogue is that we don't necessarily want to or have to change the existing signage. We just need to somehow find a way to beef up the message and to hopefully, to start with some common sense on following the directions. So these, my experience going through Bristol a couple of weeks ago would suggest that those signs are able to get your attention, get you to know that absolutely you should be at 25 miles per hour or less, and that you're entering an area that is descriptive enough that you ought, some common sense ought to register about what your vehicle operation should really be.
And somehow Bristol's managed to convince the Lincoln County Sheriff to sit down there a lot.
I'm curious,
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I drive down there all the time. He does.
We see that occasionally
Yeah.
with the deputy being in an unmarked vehicle at our fire substation.
Oh, good.
But I don't know what his full activity is.
have you or your neighborhood group identified days or times of day that are worse?
Yeah.
For that,
Interesting.
Because that
question.
might be, if you could identify, some key times where traffic is especially fast or especially heavy, maybe then the Lincoln County Sheriff's Department would be able to, on occasion, have a presence there during those.
I don't think we have that firsthand information to share. That's partly why I'm interested in for us to pursue that
It
in
might-
Whitefield and Bristol and so forth. What was their general pattern, just for comparative purposes?
It might be, since you do have a neighborhood sort of working group, it might be an interesting, if there are people that are generally home, pay attention to, just say, oh, Saturday afternoons, we can count on it, or,
Yeah,
it's
it's still a road where I wonder how much actual eyes on the road for that kind of comparison that you might be able to do. But your question, I've been thinking about and thinking it could be a cross benefit from using these signs. If they, for example, allow you to run a tape for at so many hours a day, I mean, I do think that with the emphasis I was giving to the traffic that has been commercial in nature, that those that are in a rush, there's a difference between those that are in a rush and those that are doing local calls in the neighborhood.
sure.
For service, for one type or another. So I do think that maybe some of that commercial business is on a schedule. They need to get it to a job site. They need to make a delivery, something like that.
Yeah.
And that may come at certain pretty steady routine periods of the day.
Right, if that could be identified, that might be one way to address the problem. Just saying, oh, every Wednesday at 3:30, we can count on this guy in this vehicle, going over the speed limit.
Obeying the law, right?
Or you're right, obeying the law or not. I don't, just,
No,
it might be one thing for your group to try to suss out.
Well, if you,
I think it's legitimate and ought to be investigated. And I think, having some organization here representing the town and being able to look at that, see how they collect data, or even just take experience from other towns and weigh that, see what it might or might not mean on our road.
Has there been any outreach to the DOT?
Is there what?
Any outreach to the DOT? Seeing as it is.
They've been involved in some of the discussions that Alna began. Yeah,
Yep.
I've not been part
Because
of
they're
those.
gonna have a
Right.
good idea on how this type of thing has been
Yep.
handled before in other communities also.
Well,
Yep.
it strikes me similar to the North Newcastle Road situation that we've gone through. Where we asked the state to do a study.
Yeah.
And
And
it was frustrating, like a frustrating process. Basically, they didn't do it until they just capitulated and said, put up the sign. But, I don't know the jurisdiction, whether we can just put up signs. I mean, I think Joel, this.
Ben's got something to say.
And here's Ben, but, anyway, but maybe Ben can help inform us. But Ben, you gotta talk to the microphone. You're gonna.
Yeah,
Adam.
I was gonna offer if you want, be happy to come and talk. I've actually been working on that exact problem for more than a decade. I've spoken to the DOT, sheriff's department,
Yeah,
everybody involved.
you're right on the US one
I'm right on
corner
the
of
corner.
the chief's staff. Yeah.
I'm well versed in the problem. I can fill you in on a lot of the old conversations we've had and maybe we can come up with some new thoughts. I'd be happy.
Yeah, we've been down a similar road about, I don't know, 7 years ago with Alna and it's sort of. It is one of those things that it's
Well,
hard to get traction on.
Right.
but-
And the last thing I would say then is it's not unexpected.
Yeah.
Right. It's local government. But fresh information, as you're referring to, to even do something on a study basis. And that could be a possibility with these new instruments to put them in for a period of time.
And just an FYI, one of my neighbors, we've got some terrible speeding issues in the Mills too. And the Mills has a lot of people walking on the roads all the time, especially little kids. And she persisted and got, I think it was DOT, I'll have to ask her, to actually put up strips and a flashing sign with the speed limit. They did that because she nagged them. So did you have experience with that too? But come on up. Yeah.
We gotta.
Yeah, we can do it.
Hi, Kings Highway. I just wanted to add to the Sheepscot discussion that within the last several months, the state has put up signs that Sheepscot Road is now 1A bike route. And it's narrow, the bridge is very narrow. And so that is like the Mills with the children walking. That makes for a really compounded safety. It's not just cars going. You have new families since the pandemic moving in. And now we have bikers. It's twisty, it curves, you can't see them. And if somebody's doing 45, it's a situation waiting to happen. So maybe that would be a tipping point when talking to highway or the highway department of the state. It's, it's going to be in their lap if something happens.
Okay.
All right. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for bringing it up. And if you have any brilliant brainstorm ideas of how we can get the state to do some things on these, let me know, or the sheriff's department, but I don't know, you may have some good ideas too, but we can pursue it. No, no, I'd probably not.
And just for purposes of our discussions. Just start with Ben as a citizen, and follow up with one of you perhaps.
I think it would be appropriate to probably do a workshop on this item or something like that, something where we can have it's hard,
Longer
not much we can do without the information in front of us. So I think if you had the information compiled and gave it to the town manager, we could review it and maybe set up a workshop to discuss and talk back and forth about some of these items, talk to the road commissioner, talk to a few different people. And that's the way to do it, because again,
Right.
that's so that would be the process to move forward with this.
Right.
Would be to get that information.
And if I was in my old professional role.
Yeah.
I could, that would fulfill a resource. So
Yeah.
what if by our talks with the other towns that we've mentioned that had experience, if we did a workshop that leaned on past and present experience with what they were attempting to do with changing the strategies for tying the speed activity on the road to something that's in line with the law. Is that a useful way to go? So you have some data, but you get perspective. Because I just think a lot of this is fresh. And it does sound like it's hitting a lot of towns nearby at all at the same time. So if we had a way to collect experience and what worked, what didn't work kind of thing, what was the feedback, that'd be a help.
Someone wants to talk to Bristol and some of the other towns,
Okay,
just to see if their
let's see what
experiences.
we can do.
All
Thanks.
right, thank you. Anyone else? Mal? Mal, come on up.
You have 2 minutes.
I could just do it with paper.
Yeah.
Or were these two separate things? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Mel.
Roads.
Yes,
2 pages, is that what you're saying?
Oh, no, 2 different items.
There you
who are you, sir?
Mal Carey from North Newcastle, ma'am. Do you offer frequent flyer miles?
We should. You definitely would be our gold member. Oh, platinum.
The first of 2 road items. The road commissioner at a recent selectmen's meeting complained that with some vigor about the lack of information about the legal status of a number of our roads. I would recommend that as the town is getting a planner position, half-time planner position, that one of the tasks that they be assigned to is to assemble all of the available information about legal status of our roads. If you end up plowing a road that you're not supposed to plow because it isn't one of the official ones, you can get in trouble. If you don't plow something or don't see to road conditions that need to be seen to by law, then there are consequences for that too. So it'd be good to give the road commissioner the tool to do his job right. And the Allen Pooley records have gone missing, and that would have shortened the path quite considerably to putting this a complete list together. So that's the verbal of the written on one of them. And the other issue is about Hassan Avenue, which has been a odd duck situation for a very, very long time. And it was about 2 years ago that I asked the board and the town manager at that point about getting the details of Hassan Avenue, its legal status, and I was told, it appears in the minutes, that that would take a few months. We're up to 24 now. And so it'd be good if the taxpayers out there were to get what they deserve, or be told officially that they don't deserve, whichever the case really is. If you go back to 1997, the town voted to reestablish from the Turner residence out to 215, the road, and they were supposed to take or obtain easements to the center line. And they got some of the abutters to agree and some didn't. They put up quite a squabble, and yeah, it just got dropped. And it would be good to put that road into at least defined situation. That if that vote back in 97 to recreate the this public rights in the roadway is still valid. It's a long time for it to sit fallow, but it's a Peter question. Does it still live forever? And if it doesn't, then there is the second option of looking at that. If you go back to the Jordan versus Canton case back in 70, where the Maine Supreme Court knocked down the concept of limited user highway, which that road had been put in that status previously. That whatever of the rights in the road that had existed before the limited user highway fiasco would still obtain. So it's a Peter chase the ephemeral essence of this road and get it pinned down. So
Yeah.
those are my two roads of the day. Although you had one for me earlier.
I need to give you another one now. So we're even.
You got another one?
No, but I'll find one so we're
Oh,
even.
thank you very much. Appreciate
All
it.
right. Thanks for the research, Mel.
It's more pointing out where the research needs to happen, because this is just the outline, and I suspect that some of this may not have current records that will define the outcome. It may take a new initiative to establish it. Driving down Hassan Avenue wasn't bad this last winter. The year before, I actually bottomed out in the muck going down it. That was not much fun.
No. Thanks, Mel. Right. Anything else? Oh,
I
we
just have a
think,
question. We're doing the tax amendment next meeting. So
didn't we already? Oh, yes.
Ju-
Go
That's
ahead. You got that.
Town, well, in the town manager's report, I'll update everybody, but we're gonna do it next.
All righty. Then on to new business. We have a review of the select board bylaws.
So right in your packet, I provided a draft of the, some slight revisions. And just some comments as an outsider looking in and reading it for the first time. They don't explicitly say it yet. I kind of see new business as new items that come to you for discussion or debate, or what do you want to kick around, or you want to create a workshop, those kinds of things. And then I see unfinished business is typically at the stage of voting. So that's how I schedule, or that's how I prepared this agenda for you tonight. And it's something I might want to ask, maybe we modify the current bylaws to explicitly define that of those two items as new business, just for the public and for our own use. So I didn't know if you had other ideas of things you might want to change in this, but happy to go through a couple of comments I had and see what you think.
Sure. Let's work our way through because I had a couple of little edits too.
I'm not even sure the real reason for new business and unfinished business, to tell you the truth. It's always been kind of a confusing point, and it could be just how you organize it, that's the intent, but the heading doesn't really explain that, because you can have a new business item that you're voting on that would so you put it in unfinished business, and it wouldn't be.
Mhm.
But I like the idea of potentially organizing things in things that we're gonna have a motion and vote on, things that we're discussing.
Mhm.
I think that's a great idea.
So to me, new business seems like something we haven't discussed before,
Yeah, but it's a kind of a funny. 'Cause
but we could vote on
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't really know why it's. You have any recollection of that?
Oh, Ben does.
Why did we do that?
Come on,
You
just.
shouldn't
move
show
on.
any of these meetings, Ben.
What?
No, we like your knowledge.
Well, no, so,
I don't wanna challenge you, because I don't know if I believe it.
well, yeah, sure. So I mean, originally the idea was that part of the meeting would be dedicated towards helping build the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah,
And so that was the idea. And you had started to implement something a couple years ago where members could fill out, a request for a topic and you'd submit it. And then you'd have a little session where you'd say, okay, here's the things for new business. Nothing's pressing. We're going to move that to the agenda for next meeting or meeting after, whatever. It was just a time to do a little agenda building for things that came up that weren't necessarily pressing that. That was the whole idea. But if it's not that, that's the backstory. Do whatever you want.
I don't necessarily see it tied to motions.
But just new business versus things that are ongoing.
Yeah, I mean, I just take it for the way I understand it. It's just new business and then
Old business.
old business. Yeah.
and
Unfinished
unfinished, yeah.
business. I guess you can call that unfinished. Yeah.
but I mean. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, one more. In the, this is going way back now. Before, several times ago, before we reorganized the agenda, there used to be a section near the bottom just called like communications. And it was for things that the town administrator at the time wanted the board to be aware of. It was, notices of things happening around town or in a neighboring town. Or things that might be coming up on the agenda. Conversations, sometimes it'd be a note, we didn't have a administrator's report section of the agenda at that time. And so I think part of that idea was to merge those two concepts. If there's anything for discussion that needs to have further discussion, it's new business.
Well, we have town manager report and communications.
You still have the communications.
Well, as part of the
It's
town
part of it.
manager
It's part of it.
report.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that would be,
Covers
that
it,
would
yeah.
capture it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Question.
I don't really have any preference. I mean, it's, or however we just go through things.
Right.
Let's put it this way. I've never been confused about this. I mean, we've
I'm
always had,
creating confusion. for you.
no, I mean, no, you're not. I'm just saying like, I mean, yeah, it just, sometimes if you look at a word long enough, it will seem like it's foreign. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but I mean, normally it's new business and then old business.
Yeah.
Or it's old business meeting, it's unfinished.
Mhm.
So I don't, whatever we call it, I don't really care how we organize it. Do you? Really?
So the question for me then to come back to you with a more formal, so like tonight's a discussion about it. I'm gonna
Yep.
take some notes. I'm gonna make those modifications and bring it to you as an unfinished business at the next meeting and you take a
Mhm.
vote on it.
Yeah.
So you've had, you've had
Mhm.
2 weeks to review it, 2 weeks to digest it and then vote on it.
Mhm.
Yes, it drags it out a little bit, but I think it adds an opportunity for me to bring you something that isn't perfectly clean and
Right.
we actually have a discussion about it. And I don't feel frustrated that, I put all this time and effort into something and you tear it apart and you
Yep.
put it back together in a different way. And I don't know, I just see this as an opportunity to just slow things down just a little bit. I can define new business as if you feel comfortable moving it forward that night, you can. You
Yeah.
can take a motion and just, yeah, we're happy with it. We're done. Go ahead.
Mhm.
It's done. So I can define that as new business is something that's new to the select board this evening.
Mhm.
And just define that, specifically define that. Typically, these items are then moved to an unfinished business meeting at a later meeting with the modifications that are brought up during the meeting. However, the select board has the right to make a motion at that meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I can keep it loose, but still try to put some understanding that we don't
Yeah.
always move forward.
Well, like, last week, the certificate of recommitment.
Yeah.
We don't need to spend 2 weeks on that. It could be new business and we vote on it and we're done.
Done with it.
And something to be something simple.
Okay.
But
Might be something to just sort of look, I think there couldn't be I think there could be a clarification in language for sure in the heading.
Yep.
And I think we can,
I like the intent.
but the intent, I like the intent of breaking those out.
Yeah, I wouldn't
So-
get stuck in a hard fast rule. I think you gotta be a little bit flexible.
So-
with otherwise, yeah, we need a lot more language to define. I think.
Easy.
Like, for example, the priorities list here,
Mhm.
that's in new business. I don't think we didn't take a motion or vote on this. This is just one of
Right,
those,
it's just a.
it's
working
just a
document.
review document. So in other words, like, I wouldn't expect to see this coming back as, a motion or something that we have to vote on. It's just kind of here. We may not get through this tonight, and let's go back to it next week, or next meeting and review it. But so that's what I mean, not hard and fast, but just be kind of unfinished business because we didn't get a chance to review it all. And that was the intent of this sort of agenda item.
So in scrolling through section, I've got a couple just little edits. Well, there's a couple of questions too, but
Sure.
section, of course I do. Section 3. Line 2 at the end, it says the Board of Selectmen. I take umbrage with that.
Mm.
So we can update that.
Which one
language.
at the end of,
The second line, at the end of the second line.
oh, I see
Oh.
it.
It was
Or-
also
And the title,
title, it says
select man.
Yeah, and in the title, yep. We got most of it out of there.
We got most of it out
I
of there.
did, and I really tried to switch to, because the start of this whole document says the board. It
Yep.
defines the select
Yes.
board as the board, so I will replace it all with.
Great.
Yeah.
And then. for- So then it was weird. Okay, so then keep going down in the quotes where after it states, well, first off, we need a space and the quotes need to go the other way. In the fourth line.
Yeah.
And then it says this section, now this is a quote from the MRSA. It says Board of Selectmen. I think they've updated all of theirs, so maybe we can now quote them. Hopefully
Correctly.
it says
So-
the select board, hopefully now.
Select board.
Mhm.
It should.
I mean, we're quoting them. If they haven't changed theirs, then we have to leave that, I guess, but I think they've
Yeah.
changed theirs.
So we should look at that.
And then in line 6 of this, the last line of that paragraph, after the word department, it says or and. Matter relating. Does that mean and or is there just a weird word there? It's all part of the quote though, so I think it's something that mistyped.
I'll look into it.
It's easy enough. Okay. And then you just had some edits, which are, that works. Board.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep.
Then those all work.
Consistency throughout that.
Yes, no,
Yep.
that's, I like it. Anybody have anything else going down? Like I'm already down to, I guess you made some changes in 6, Kevin. That's,
It just references limitations, yet there's only one limitation identified here, so I just
yeah.
changed it to limitation.
I think that's correct. Do you have any history with that?
Which one?
6,
6, the chair privileges.
right? It just lists one limitation.
So I made it limitation instead of limitations.
And that would make sense.
Yep.
Okay, 7, I have no idea. What are, Ben, help me out. What are respective seats? How, do we have assigned seating?
This-
7.
Section 7,
Seating
seating arrangement.
arrangement.
Members shall occupy the respective seats in the
Oh,
board meeting room.
We really
closest
need to
the
have
chair.
assigned seats.
We do. I mean, we, this,
But we kind of just naturally came by it. Do we, is it, it's not, it's specified here, but it doesn't
Now,
mean,
who's the third select person? Because they're supposed to keep the fire burning, clean the
Right.
toilet.
No,
Right,
no,
no.
the outhouse is
Stoke
the
the
fire,
fire.
is the first.
No,
The
no.
outhouse is the first.
Toilet that just falls to the top.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Not that. Yeah, this, I mean, the whole thing is silly though. Members shall occupy the respective seats in the board meeting room closest
I
to the
would,
chair.
I would say if you brushed up on your Roberts rules, there'd be something in there that,
Ah.
that it's a, I don't.
So your respective seats are probably seniority based.
Yeah,
Is how I would interpret that. So that's why I'm asking, can it be
this
clarified?
is why I didn't move.
So based on seniority after the chair, vice chair. So technically, the person who has the third most seniority would sit
But-
where Thomas.
But we
is.
don't have that.
The fourth would be where,
And we don't really have seniority in the way we have it arranged either, because we don't have a first and a second. We have a chair and a vice
Vice chair,
chair.
right.
Okay. But,
But
but, the
Can you hear?
reason this went in
he can hear you.
is because there was some concern when we had a board that wasn't as functioning as you all,
Oh,
that members might choose to sit in places in the room less conductive to the well-ordered operation of a meeting.
Got it.
got it.
I'll let Ben say these.
I
things.
think-
I'm not gonna do it.
I think I like it. Because it does, it's just a thing that's just kind of weird and fun in there. I don't know.
But,
You know,
Good reason to keep it.
yeah,
but it does, does respective seats have a real definition somewhere?
it does. This is, I don't know. I don't have a problem with
I
this
don't
one.
know.
I don't have a problem with this one. These are our respective seats. This is where we sit. I mean, you know,
There you go.
Yeah,
I'm sitting where I want to sit.
yeah, right? Yeah. No, hey, closest to the chair.
Yeah, well, what chair? There's
Which?
there's about a dozen chairs in here, you know what I mean?
Chair is
Capital
capital.
chair, capital chair.
Right, but
Capital seats
after
chair.
that,
So there we go.
but after that, is there an order to this?
I'm just, yeah, I like it. I think we keep it. I like it.
Yeah.
It does set up, I mean, it's a bylaw, it's a little, but yeah,
But are we out of compliance at this point?
no, we're not.
Maybe it's defined at the first meeting. What the respective seats are.
Maybe.
So you did
So
that.
the-
You
We-
technically
we-
did that.
We
Right.
moved Tom over.
Yep.
We moved Tom over, put Rufus in the,
The new
Down
person
at the
seat,
end.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Me and Rufus got stuck. at
because
the
there was a
end.
vacant,
Yeah.
there was a vacant chair there.
yeah,
okay. So we have some semblance of order. here.
I'm not moving, so,
Or you're good.
I'm
You've
good
been
right
here
now.
since I've known you
yeah.
Right.
here. Okay. Eh,
That was a lot of time on that.
That was,
so I think, I think what we really need to get into is, okay, so when we get into 8, the subject to censure.
Yeah,
Now, the answer to this one is there is no way that we can censure anybody. And this has come up every time we've discussed it.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I don't know. Why is it in there? We left it in there as like a censure.
yeah.
Like if you miss 4 meetings, you're gonna be censured. What does that mean? Nothing.
get a slap on the wrist.
Is there a process for,
No,
there's no, and even in state statute? Process for removal of a,
there is, but it would be a
Based on-
recall of it would be a citizens initiative.
nothing that select board itself can do.
Not that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Find somebody to run against you kind of thing.
No, when we asked Peter last time, he said, within the bounds of the law, you can make up what censure is on the spot.
On the spot, so
questioning.
it doesn't have to be written.
You, by a majority vote of the board. Or
Yeah, but
quorum of the board.
That doesn't mean we can remove somebody from the seat, though.
You
No,
can't
but we
remove
can
someone
make-
within the
make-
bounds of the law.
Right,
So there's only one process for removing someone from, and they
Yeah.
have to have been like
Broken
convicted
law.
of a crime.
Right.
But short of that, you can take away their voting privileges, you can
oh, I see.
force them to sit in the audience, you can
Well, make them go down a set of stairs ringing the bell. Jane,
the shame bell or wear the dunce hat. I mean,
Yeah, but if you made us, if you made them sit in the audience, then you'd have to go back to section.
Yeah, right.
The other
Exactly.
section and redefine where, because you couldn't tell someone to do something that they weren't allowed to do based on the
Joel,
previous
it's a
section.
paradox, man. They
I'm
just
just
be walking
saying.
back and forth all
Yeah.
night.
All right, so there we are, we're leaving censure
Okay,
again.
in the line above the word censure, though, we're missing the word meetings for unexcused regular
Yeah.
meetings. Need the word meetings in there.
Unexcused regular.
Excuse
Regular.
regular, I kind of like it, the way it is, it has a good flow to it. so. You wanna
Let's,
add
I think
meetings?
we're gonna change it,
All
Joel.
right.
Sorry. Right.
So I'll just leave censure in there. Andy?
All right. We'll discuss it again.
Next year, yeah.
Exactly.
I guess the same thing with sanction by the board then. In section
Right.
14.
Just questions. That's all I have.
Yeah.
So
No, it's good.
I do have one question, and this isn't under 10, if we're on 10 yet.
Oh, okay, go ahead. We passed it, so go ahead.
So 10, I just want to know the process in which, okay, so we have the chair may call a special meeting at any time. That's great. The chair shall call a special meeting if requested by a quorum of select board members. That would just be 3 individual members contacting the chair.
Right.
That's the, okay. Gotta be careful, quorum. It's so funny.
Mhm.
Can't have quorums at a meeting.
I guess it could be 3 phone
At the
calls.
meeting, 3 select board members could say, we need a special meeting to address this.
Okay, I thought it was outside of one too, if it was a request, but that would be a weird one to. But that's good. I mean, we're getting into the nuts and bolts of this, but it's important too, because,
Please do.
yeah,
Just for the sake it needs to be done at some point.
Yep.
So do you want me to clarify that?
Yeah. Majority of the select board members?
well, that would be a quorum, but it's just
Well,
whether
I think
it's,
the word, isn't your concern though? I mean, quorum implies there's a meeting going.
so I think. Well, a quorum. You can't, I mean, you can have a quorum, you can have an illegal quorum, you can have a quorum of select board members. And that you don't want to encourage that, but
Meeting
if, you-
outside of the-
but if you have 3. And this, I could be wrong on this, but I think this is something that was added. That was added not that long ago, and I think the idea was that. I don't know. I think this piece was added.
But
and I
it
don't
it
think it
could also,
completely comes across as it was intended.
but couldn't that also be, there needs to be a special meeting, 3 people call the chair and say,
That's what I'm
Hey,
saying.
That's what
I
that's
think we need to have a special
separately.
meeting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So I'm gonna change the word quorum
I think that's
by
what-
request from 3.
No, well, I mean,
If it's a
because you might,
quorum.
well, you
But
might have,
3
you
would
might
be a
have, you
quorum.
might only have 4 members of the select board. For some reason. So
That's
So the
true.
word
what-
quorum would be good.
you
Yeah.
want majority.
Majority of.
Mhm.
Yeah, there you go. But that is quorum,
It is a quorum.
so that's the same thing. I like the word quorum.
Like
I know.
censure, you like censure and
I like
quorum?
censure, I like quorum, I like assigned seat.
Just leave it.
Get Joel a word of the day.
Yeah.
Just send him.
Gotta start doing the work. now, I think.
All right. Does anyone have anything in, then we'll go right through 11, 12, 13, 14.
So I did make a couple of comments and end of
Yep.
14.
Yep.
So it did say no official action shall be finally approved at an executive session. And I just modified it to say
Yep.
during an executive session. Because
perfect.
the intent is you can come out of executive session and make a decision,
Yes.
which I may ask you to do now.
Yep. And then you added, which is good.
Great.
Exiting.
You've answered the question for the reporter when we go into executive session, whether there's any potential action after. So there, you already
Yep.
know the answer, there might be.
If you want to.
Still not an answer.
Yeah, which is the only answer you ever get, because how do we know? Because we don't know.
Right.
So, but there might be.
Might be.
Keep you posted. Maybe.
All right, and then 15 you did too, Kevin.
15, I'm a little confused about how your workshop sessions operate or are intended to operate. So like what we're doing tonight could have been a workshop session. We could have called a special meeting for a workshop or
Yep.
just scheduled a workshop to address the bylaws.
Mhm.
But instead, we're doing it as part of our new business because we have a relatively light agenda.
We did.
Relatively
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
at one point.
So I was just curious if, is that? I don't know. I was just, how often do you do workshops? Is this
the wor-
any different than a regular meeting?
The workshops are intended to be more informal than this meeting, even though these meetings are rather informal, just because of the way we run, we have been running them where we have discussion and we do end up having discussion back and forth with residents, but the idea is that it is somewhat more informal, but also it
don't like
depends on
to-
how we run it though, because sometimes we run these workshops and it's actually more closed. It's actually more of just a discussion back and forth
Right.
between the
But it's
between the
when,
board and then reaching
but
out.
we generally have done it when we have a topic we know is going to take, we need an hour and
Yeah.
a half. We
Okay.
don't want
For-
to take it up in a meeting.
So
We
we
did-
usually call workshops during budget season.
Budget
Because we
season.
need infill meetings to make, because we have too much on the agenda to do that and budget review.
Okay.
So we'll carry a budget, we'll carry a workshop. Typically, it's not recorded, so public's allowed to come
Yeah.
and view, but they may not necessarily be engaged.
That was just
Yeah.
more of a
Yep.
question.
Yeah.
16, 17, there was some more questions, changes.
Yeah, so my comments on this in regard to, it says all agenda items shall be under normal circumstances submitted by the board members to the town manager 7 working days prior to any regular or special meeting by noon. Sure. Town manager will draft the agenda. So is the draft agenda developed solely based on what board members suggest, or is the town manager allowed to suggest items for the draft agenda for the chair to review? So it doesn't specifically state that, so I'd like to add some language where it gives the town manager a little bit of authority to bring things to your attention the way
Mhm.
I hope a town manager would bring to the select board.
Mhm.
But it didn't explicitly say that, so that's
It
where I was
does- I think
asking.
that's how we've operated though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, I'll codify
We
it
just
then.
talk, yeah.
Mhm.
And the 7 days is in an ideal world.
Yeah.
It's an ideal world, but I don't know.
The idea
Okay.
behind that is to have supporting information that can be,
Added to the agenda.
yeah.
I'd really like to get
that's-
to a place where you're just not given a 1-page agenda where the things that you're gonna be talking about, you have no idea what it is until the night of.
It's kind of like, yeah, it was to avoid at the very last minute bringing like, hey, I think we need to, on Thursday, I call you up and I say, I want to talk about putting in a sandbox. I always do sandboxes, putting in a sandbox outside town office. And I think it's a really important thing.
It would be for my 2-year-old.
You know what I mean? So one day we're gonna have the Joel Lynn Memorial Sandbox in town. It's gonna be pretty exciting. But yeah, no. Then you're like, why, what, where's the doc, how is this gonna work? And then I'm just talking about a sandbox in a meeting, which would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
It would be
that's the idea
ridiculous
with
if
that.
you're
But then here we are.
But then here we are talking about sandbox.
You realize you're gonna attract every other cat within a half-mile radius.
Yeah, that's what I keep thinking. That's why I'm waiting. I gotta plan it out. I'm gonna 7 days in advance. I'm gonna have a plan for that, but I don't have it yet. So
So yes, Kevin.
Okay, so I'll add a sentence in there just about town manager has the ability to add things to the agenda.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So. Yeah.
And you're right. First draft, we don't do multiple drafts of the agenda to post or anything. so-
What I did this past time was share with you sort of where I'm going with it.
Yep.
You gave me the okay and I finalized it.
So with the agenda items and in the chair or any two select board members may add an item to the agenda in the event of the matter. Manager, proper time. That was kind of a thing. And we did, I don't know where it disappeared to, but we did actually have used to be on the agenda, now it's not on the agenda. The forms,
Yeah.
so there was a mechanism that we kind of put in place. So that if. Oh, you got one. There we go. Yeah. So this is the select men agenda item submission form.
That's why I
And-
never. submitted
And
it.
there
It
was
wasn't from me.
the idea behind this form was that in a public meeting, if a select board member had an issue that they wanted to bring up, that it was a way to do it in public, so it was recorded, it was in the meetings. So if the mean chair, Joel Lind at the time, didn't want to, Karen said, hey, we need to talk about this. And we don't need to talk about it. Karen could bring a form and it would have the date that it was submitted. It was proposed by which select board member, the subject. So it'd be a little bit of an overview. And then the idea would be that at that point, maybe we could schedule a time to talk about it, discuss and whatever, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about putting the sandbox in the fall when,
Right. We'll bring it up. later.
we want to bring it up later. So that was the idea behind this. It was used a little bit. And then it kind of fell out of the things that was so responsive to everyone's requests for.
But I would say if that's really something that is important to us, we should mention it.
It should, yeah, I think that this is I think that. And then that is why that language about two select board members bringing something up, but I think
This is a sole. This is somebody, just
Mhm.
one select board. member
Yeah.
Wants to do something.
and so again, that would be, so. Let me just. So I have a concern about traffic on
Road.
on Cochrane Road. We're gonna switch ends of town on Cochrane Road. And so. Again, this is a paper thing. I don't know where it would actually live, who would handle it. The idea is that it gets on the agenda for the next meeting. The chair would then refer to the select board member that sort of sponsored the agenda item. And that select board member would sort of provide the supporting information, help, sort of run that discussion back and forth, so that's the sort of the concept behind this form.
I think it's a great concept.
I
I think we just need to update that, and I think we need to
we need to
mention it
update
here.
that. We need to actually put it back on the agenda. I don't
Well, there's future
remember.
agenda items, is number 10.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an opportunity for people to make suggestions.
That could fit
That
there.
would be-
It could be
Instead
there.
of having
Yeah.
to be so formal, we just quickly discuss it.
Future agenda. I think it was future agenda.
Well,
I think it was at the top.
The
It used to
the
be-
only thing good about this is, it would be, I think it would be something in writing that would be recorded in
That was
some
the
way.
idea,
And that
But what if
way,
you really want a gaslight tour?
right?
yeah, stranger things have happened, but I'm just saying, like, yeah, that way there's like,
It's.
I'm
it's-
not
it's recorded.
just begging Karen at this point to say, Karen, you really need to talk about this. Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get
Right.
to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get to it. And,
I
if there's a
will-
document, I can really want to
Right.
talk about Joel Sandbox.
It was also a way to force it in public.
That's what it was.
So there's another document eventually I'll be creating for you is once we get through this list of things that you have from January, plus the list of things that Ben happily shared with me this afternoon, and any others we add to it, it's, actually planning this out and having that sort of Gantt chart that's out there for you to see and know, these are when we propose to tackle these things.
Mhm.
So as we're talking about adding more to it, like, we're gonna be in a select board meeting, the next 6 of them with all of these agenda items planned out ahead of time. I'd like to get to that place.
Yep.
So that would be number 10, future agenda items is what you're saying.
Yeah, you're essentially seeing a chart of, okay, well, we discussed it, we didn't go anywhere with it, it's getting kicked to the next meeting, okay, it's kicked further out.
Okay. So we can't just ignore it forever.
Well, I mean, you can come up with more items and I hope you.
Yeah.
Will be cognizant of all the other things we're
Yes.
trying to try to
Yeah.
achieve.
It's easy to forget things sometimes. There's so many fires.
Yeah,
So, how does that just not accumulate like dust bunnies? I mean, is there a point when you're like, yeah, we don't need that on at every meeting or like reject that?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
kick it down the road or
Well,
say
I'm
we're
saying-
not gonna do it.
Yeah,
anymore.
or just cross it out.
I mean, there's some of those that are completed. I
We don't need
would
them
look
on
to
there.
take them off there.
Right.
I think it's good to recognize things that you've achieved.
Mhm.
And there are times to do that, but after that document's done, it's in front of you. Okay, those are complete. Let's take it off and let's focus on
Mhm.
what else is here.
No, that would be good.
So I'll, if I can get a copy of that, it's probably somewhere on the server, somewhere. I'll find it.
It might be just a Joel thing.
No.
That's,
This is a brilliant idea. Yeah.
Just a Joel.
no, I mean, it's not on the server. It's on your. personal
All right, so I'm gonna update this to include some language about this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
computer. Okay.
In that paragraph, we need to
Barely
add
logging
another
in.
option, is a single member may. do
Yep.
This.
And we did have a time a couple of years ago where it was used quite a bit and it was good. You know, it was brought up. We
Because it
had a
was
mem-
fresh.
We had a member that was, yeah, it just rolled out.
Yes.
Brain idea.
Mhm.
Some page
But didn't
off.
we vote?
It was always at the beginning of the meeting too. It was
Mhm.
always it was. And I think that's so not to jump around here, but just to get back to the agenda order, we have the call to order, pledge of allegiance, amendments to the agenda, and then it was item number 4 should be the
3 with the future agenda.
future agenda, but I think I think,
Do you think so?
I-
Because sometimes you get to the end of the meeting and that's when you decide what you want to do next.
no, but
Versus
that, I'm saying the form has its own, that form
Oh.
should have its
Oh,
own
okay.
place. and
Oh.
It should be at the beginning of the meeting.
Gotcha.
So that form should be the,
New 3, or just kick everything down and.
yeah, just kick everything, you know.
Yep.
And then
I can,
the idea was that, again, we dragged out, and that's when we shifted. The minutes used to be somewhere else.
So,
So
what are you calling this in the agenda?
I don't have the thing anymore.
Submission.
Dated.
Select
board.
Select board
agenda
member,
Item submission, we had a clever name for it that was great.
was it that?
No,
That's
better.
clever.
somehow history got erased on it. I
Yeah.
don't know what happened.
all that lead paint.
It really is.
But that,
But so the idea was to put these things in there, that was before the public comments, not on the agenda, so the select board would actually have a chance to bring things up before the 5-minute
Okay.
period. And that was and again, it gives a chance for if, I think that's the way to.
so then the differentiation, the amendments to the agenda are for tonight. And then this one would be for future.
Yeah, this would be to bring up a future, just, and then it's logged in the minutes.
Yep.
Someone brought it up, someone has a description as to what it is. Again, the idea with that form is that you bring it to the meeting. It's nice if you give it, if you give it to the chair or the town manager before the meeting, so
Yep.
that there's a little bit of a chance to digest it, but the idea is that you have a little bit of a narrative as to what the discussion item is. So it's easier to then put it on the agenda.
Can-
That was the idea.
Can
behind
I
the form.
suggest, instead of 3, we put it between approval of meeting minutes and number 5, which is the the public comments not on the agenda.
So you want to do the amendments to the agenda, the minutes, then the select board,
And then the public.
and then
comments.
the public comments. Yeah. That's fine.
Well, then we don't need 11, right? Future agenda items.
Future agenda items
We
would be a
do.
different thing. That's a different thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
As opposed to one submitted.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Would we then discuss these that have been submitted?
We would discuss them the idea with that is to set a meeting date.
Right, and that would be at that future agenda items.
Mhm.
Say, all right, we have proposed right now, we have the 6 things on the agenda tonight.
Right.
Next meeting, we have these 4 things. The next meeting, we have 2. We have this submission from Thomas. Why don't we stick it on that agenda 3 meetings?
That's kind of the idea.
I see.
I look at it in concept the same way that we're allowing public to come up and.
Yep.
Have 5 minutes or a year.
Right.
It's like anybody else that says, hey. you
Yeah.
know,
And at one point, I know we had one of those that we did in that meeting because it was time. We didn't push it to a forward meeting. We did it the night that it was turned in,
Yeah.
just because it had to be.
So in that case, it should actually be before amendments to the agenda. Should be after Pledge of Allegiance. That would be the point at which, not to change up the order around everything, but let's do it. Let's do it right. It should be after Pledge of Allegiance, because if you're gonna make an amendment to the agenda and discuss it that night, then you don't want to jump back to amendments on the agenda. I'm just saying from a minutes.
Your pledge isn't
Standpoint.
even on this.
It's not even. in-
What's that?
It's
Pledge isn't even
it's
on.
not
this.
even, it's not no bylaws.
It
I
used
thought
to,
it's somewhere.
it used to
It's
be.
up front, huh?
It's not.
It was, that's what, no, it used, I don't know what, I don't.
At some point, it's not.
That's
So before amendments to the agenda, in case you want to amend the agenda to
Correct.
include this item.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
to be clear.
Got all that?
Got it all, I think.
Do you know where it goes?
You're gonna
now?
finalize this document. You're gonna finalize this document at your next meeting. So with my changes, and if I screwed something up, you'll let
Oh,
me know.
you think so? That's some positive thinking.
We gotta go there. All right, 18, anyone have anything for 18?
Got what
No.
we're doing.
18 is board process.
No comments by the. Interim town manager.
Public
Yeah.
comment in section 19. See, 20, participation in voting. -21 minutes. I did have something weird. Oh, can we please not have our official record be a DVD? We don't have DVDs anymore.
Right.
I meant to ask Lauren, where?
We don't have
is
DVD.
that?
We don't.
We
have
used
DVDs.
to.
We don't have DVDs.
We don't do that.
So
anymore.
it's now it's the digital version, the recording. As a matter of fact, we're not actually putting it on YouTube anymore, are we?
I have not, I went. and
It is
looked
going
at-
on YouTube? Okay, because I find it on LCTV if I wanted to watch it. So it's both. All right,
Then I'll codify that.
yes, sir.
Video on YouTube is a public record. How does a citizen acquire? Because you would be violating YouTube rules and federal law to suck it down.
If we sucked it down, if we took it down, you mean?
No, if citizens.
Oh,
were
to
suck
download it.
down.
The down,
Whose laws if it's on YouTube and it's on our YouTube channel and we don't care?
You can download it.
Not legally.
YouTube.
Why?
We're talking about the FCC. rules.
Yeah.
I think it has to actually say that it's protected by FCC. You should look into that.
I have. And
Well, I don't
I can't
think-
do a different outcome.
I don't think any digital content is protected. That's placed in the public room, especially
This,
content that is by nature public.
It's a Peter question.
Every town and.
Well, I know what practice is, but the law may be a little different. And I would ask Peter,
I think
whether it violates.
no.
because no,
Over.
practically hardly anybody has a DVD player anymore even. I mean, we might as well give out
I'd
the
rather
8-track
we just
tapes.
make-
You know, it's getting close to that now.
We got rid of Vellum.
But a lending, I mean, we didn't say that you could keep the DVD back then either. You
Right.
could only borrow it, which means view it. So you're just viewing it on YouTube. I didn't
That-
say you could copy it. I didn't give you permission to, I said you could borrow it. I didn't
Right.
say you could copy it. That's. You've been copying the DVDs now. You're gonna, that's a Peter question too. That's a Peter question too. Are you admitting
Uh-oh.
to making copies of the lended copy of the DVD from the meetings for the past 8 years? now?
Absolutely, and. 414 says, yeah.
Okay.
Right, it's worth asking the question. But DVDs,
So you do have the DVDs then? I'm just this is a curiosity question now.
plead the fifth, plead the fifth.
Some meetings are like being invited to join Alice at the dinner time.
Absolutely.
Like this one?
Okay,
All right.
All right.
so. Oh, so we have an Oxford comma question.
Yeah,
I vote yes on Oxford commas.
thank you. I agree,
I
but
agree.
it's your call.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
it's, that's the only,
Yeah.
Ben's not with us. It's the only way to keep things
All right. I'm just,
properly.
I was just saying that
lineated.
it's, sometimes it's used and sometimes it's not throughout this document, which could get you trouble with yourself, but
Yes,
I will
Oxford comma,
modify it so it's all Oxford
comma away.
Okay. Apples, oranges, and grapes.
Exactly.
Got it.
I have no comment.
You have no comma on that?
Okay. All right, so then, any other questions, concerns, comments on this?
Well, the 9 o'clock thing isn't gonna work for us tonight, so. I don't
Yes, it
know.
is.
We bet,
Come on, come
let's
on,
move,
come
let's
on.
move,
Let's
let's
go.
move, let's move. Okay,
We don't have to finish this tonight.
we don't have to finish the goals. Yeah, this
No,
is gonna
and,
be-
and honestly, what I was hoping to do is just sort of bring it to our attention tonight. Talk about what is missing from this. Give
Yep.
me that comprehensive list, because I would like to maybe have a workshop with you to really prioritize what you want
Yeah,
to get.
yeah.
You only have me 3 days a week right now.
Mhm.
Right.
And I want to be as thorough for you and efficient. So if you can help me understand what are these top 5 things that you'd like to get done and I'm here.
Which is, I think, the way we approached this too, was we did exactly that. I think it was 5, maybe, that we said, send these 5 topics to the town manager and they'll compile it on this list. And that's how this thing came about.
Right, but then was there ever an effort to say of each of your 5 top things, what is the top 5 things
And we have never sort of
on that?
done that.
So that's the piece I would like to do either in a workshop or at the next meeting, depending.
You mean of our top 25 things, what's the top 5?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because this is a lot and, Ben was very nice to send me and I gave you each a copy what the planning board has been steaming or stewing about or looking to get work done on. And now that we have a planner lined up, potentially after tonight's vote,
I think we should rubric that stuff and put our own, when we give you the list, prioritize our own list.
Yeah.
We can categorize it.
yep.
These are the number ones on everybody's list, these are number 2s.
Should we though, if we have a couple of things in mind right now to add to the list tonight, just. to
That's what I'm
start-
looking.
Let's add,
That's what I
Sure.
want to know. What is
not
missing
necessarily
from?
what's 1, 2, 3, 4, but what do we need to add to this?
So I'll say the version that's in the packet right now is slightly old. There
Yep.
was an updated one in January. Thank you, Karen, for finding that and sending it to me.
Yep.
That's what you each have on your desk. Is
Paper
that
one.
paper
Yep.
one is the most up to date one.
Yep.
Ben also sent me the list from the planning board, so you have that in front of you. There are other things that are not on either of those that I kind of had there, hiring your long-term full-time town manager is one of them. That just my
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah,
tell you
yeah,
what.
yeah.
Why don't we just run down through this? Should we just touch on this without getting into discussion on everything?
Is
Yep.
that possible?
Well, I don't know. We don't have to finish this tonight either, but I'm just looking right here. LED streetlights, I think we can cross that one off.
Well, all the complete, they said the
Is it
status of those
complete?
are complete.
Oh, right, sure. So all
So those are done.
those,
We don't need to talk about
Just
those.
below 17, we don't need to even go there.
And it's not Z6, it's D6.
D6.
Yeah.
To develop
Yeah.
strategy.
So we have in process up to 10 and then the next 8 are.
12 is in process.
I'm sorry, next 7 are not started. Hmm.
12 is in
Fund
process.
balance policy is done, 9 is done.
It is not done.
The
No?
fund balance policy.
We
So
didn't
we,
set it?
No,
we,
Thought we said.
Never approved it, and there's still elements of it that I'd like to bring to your attention.
All right,
remember
yeah.
Sarah was researching if there was
Uh,
anything that was kind of a standard.
There are things in it that, yes, it's a good start, but I think there's some additional pieces I'd like you to
Okay.
consider.
All right, I was just trying to.
curious,
get
was
one.
that, because remember talking to you about this?
Mhm.
Did you locate that in minutes?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. And so now I'm trying to remember, because I thought we did come to a conclusion
Only on an aspect of it,
on an aspect, which was timeline, not the percentage.
what you want to do with those
Yeah.
and beyond.
And
Yeah.
and so then.
There's
yeah,
still more work to be done.
There,
Yes.
I believe there is, yes, absolutely.
So we also need to, I guess, put on here the Lynch Road
Uh,
issue.
And yeah, I mean, we're gonna talk about it tonight in the
Yeah.
next piece. I don't know how additional actions you all need to take at this time, and that's more of one of those just
Yeah.
outliers. I don't know if it's a
I think,
something for you. to
Karen,
decide.
I see that more as like one of these emergency issues. I'm not sure if I see this more as like vision setting
Okay.
goals, like
Yeah.
bigger picture goals.
Yep.
Yes,
okay.
please.
Yeah.
Yep, we could do that.
Yeah.
I just don't want to lose the money. from FEMA.
We're not going
No.
to, and I'll talk a
Okay.
little bit about that
Yeah.
Okay, good.
later.
So does anybody have anything else they want to add to this then? Yes, oh,
I'm going. Finance committee.
Yes,
Oh,
Have to,
yes.
have to nail it down.
Yeah.
Do we have one? Do we want one? Do we not want one?
Yeah.
And,
Yes,
and since I'm not sure if the current version of the bidding ordinance references the finance committee or not.
I don't think it did.
They both need to be done over.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
gotten rid of.
Yeah.
Whatever the
Agreed.
case may be.
agreed.
It's one of my hopes is to address that ordinance.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
number 6 it's kind of encompasses that, but specifically the bid ordinance, yeah.
That's kind of a bit, but. Target, it could never go away.
Yes, number 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, always.
It's like,
So do you want me to
That's a-
flush that out a little more in terms, because I started reviewing your ordinances and making my own notes about what I think is
The
priority
concept,
list.
the
of those.
concept behind number 6 was that there was a lot of very outdated things that just need, the idea was to put together a chunk of ordinances that just needed to go away
Mhm.
because of how we were.
When you
doing
changed
things.
from a select board to a town manager.
I
select
mean, I
board,
think
Some-
yeah, I think there's some weird stuff.
well,
There
it's
is some
definitely in the
weird-
bidding.
There's
ordinance
some
and
weird
shit
stuff
like
in there.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was more of a housekeeping. 6 was more of like a housekeeping thing, but I think the idea with the bidding ordinance and the finance committee is more of a. We need to actually decide what we're doing.
You are not allowed to do housekeeping right now.
Yeah, housekeeping
No.
isn't,
Okay,
That's not high in the list of priorities, but maybe the bid ordinance.
the one-offs.
Yeah.
Sure.
that's the idea. Good-
Yeah, the
good
housekeeping
call.
would be, you get to a place where you have all of your policies. And that really should be the purview, is your focus on policies,
Yeah.
because you can make amendments to those more easily than you can
Yep.
through changing law. But those number of policies, however many you have, review them. Review 2 of them a month if you need to, in order to see all of them every year.
Correct.
That's where you want to get to with your policy.
Yeah.
I'd like to amend one of these and then add one.
Go ahead.
So 13, which is the D6 development strategy. It's not, I think that's too limited. So D6 is really just from the bridge to the intersection. I think what we're talking about now is the downtown village development strategy, which would be consistent with the VPI.
So just calling it downtown development district study or strategy.
Yes.
You're talking about combining 4 and 13 tour?
Oh, it kind of
Yeah,
does,
that's a
yeah.
great point. Yeah. So 4 and 13 would be combined into one. And add,
Mhm.
this is broad, so forgive me, but I think I'd just like to have something in here about housing.
Thank you. I got 2 more. That was one of them.
What about out?
Exactly. We need more. So I don't know if it results in a ad hoc committee or whatever, but I don't know.
Encourage more housing.
It's
Yeah.
one of those things that if
How-
everybody doesn't roll up their sleeves at local, county, state, federal, universe scale, we're never gonna come to a conclusion on it or be able to fix it. So I think we're part of that. Where we
We are.
are a cog in that one.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's broad, but I think it's having.
And unfortunately, no, like I know of a house in Newcastle that's gonna go to short-term rentals. That's has
Yeah.
potential to be a long-term rental.
Well, that
That's
in
part of it.
itself is another potential thing that needs to be addressed is
Yeah.
what is the policy on
We have one.
housing?
We do have, or.
short-term rentals?
Short-term
rentals.
It's not enforced, but we have one.
Well,
No.
Yeah,
so
We have
maybe
an
that's a
application.
policy
not-
that needs to
It's
be.
it's not even a policy, it's just a permit fee.
Yeah, there's something in this core zoning code about short-term rentals right now.
Yeah.
It's on the list. It's high on the list of stuff that
Yeah.
needs to be updated.
Yeah.
And we've already got something, but now that we have after tonight, we have a planner. We'll Kick
Yep.
that into high gear.
And there are examples around the state that are starting to pop up that work. So
Ben, was there anything that you want to see more moved over right now? Sure.
Oh, from this, no,
Yeah.
before we get there, cemetery. I'm sorry. I had a resident ask, how do I go about finding out what I can do for aerial plots or what kind of aerial plots, or is there any room in this cemetery or that cemetery? And I said, good God, I have no idea who's doing that right now.
Shelley, should be Shelley?
I don't know.
There's, as far as I know, there's only a little bit in Glidden Street. I don't know.
No, what I mean, like, we used to have a cemetery committee,
It is
then
nothing.
we had a sexton,
We got nothing.
We haven't had that since
And
I've
we-
been on the board.
and now we literally have nothing. So
It's been
um,
7 years that we haven't had.
unfortunately, by law, we have to, we're required to maintain and take care. So we do the mowing and, the veterans thing, and that's great. But there is room at Sheepsket. There is room on Glidden.
There might be room in.
There's
Shelley, but
certain types and there's plenty of room for certain types up on Pine Knoll, but nobody's on it. So if somebody wanted to purchase a burial plot, how would they do it in Newcastle right now?
I think they go to the town office, don't they?
But then who's got the paperwork and?
Yeah.
I mean, there is vital records process, but who knows where those plots are? I don't think Shelley does.
Well, that's
I don't
kind
know.
of what we're going through with,
Out in Sheepsket,
out at Sheepsket.
On the Kings Highway, yeah.
Yeah.
there's-
trying to figure out if there's any plots left up there because there was some bad record keeping in a section that we acquired.
Yeah.
And then
Double parking too.
double parking. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it.
how are they gonna get out?
Huh?
Park.
They ain't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, you're right, though. But that needs to be sorted
I
out.
didn't know what to tell her. But I'd bring it up.
Tell her to come talk to the town manager and he can look at her like.
Yeah.
Huh?
I don't know.
I'd like to put that one off until next year. if it's
I
time.
figured you would.
Saying.
Figured you would.
I think I think we can discuss that next year at this time. After the election.
Other,
That's it beyond planning board discussion stuff. And really, I don't want to get into this right now. I know you guys are running late, but the one thing I did want to kind of, and I don't know if it fits or how it fits, but a conversation needs to happen regarding a lot of these goals and the broader town goals about implementing them if we're going to do that. We're at a point with the Historic Preservation Committee that we're actually rolling into the wrap-up phase. And I would like to just get in the habit that we are always working on something. Always. There's no pause.
Comp plan implementation committee.
Yeah, that absolutely.
But I think that was the concept behind. That's the everything moving forward all the time.
Yep.
That's the everything keeping in check, moving forward all the time committee that we
Do
haven't,
we have that on here?
we haven't.
No, they're going to be doing not just zoning stuff though. So from like a planning board,
Yeah.
like zoning perspective.
Oh, okay.
I'm speaking about that
Yeah, yeah.
specifically.
All right.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That needs to happen.
But they touch on that too.
Absolutely, they would.
Yeah.
They make their recommendations and send it to the select board for ratification or processes to move forward.
The
Which
comp-
part?
Ideally, that's what the
comp
comp
plan.
plan committee,
Yeah, we
comp
actually,
plan implementation committee.
I thought we took a step, if not even a time when I volunteered to start that committee. I can't remember now.
No, you
Sorry.
voted to start it.
Didn't
we
we
did.
though?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Did you
said that
appoint anybody?
I think
No.
I volunteered
Yeah, we appointed four to.
volunteered to be the select board representative.
Great. We got one.
There we go one.
Well, no,
So,
you got two because none of the other planning board members would volunteer. So
oh,
It's
okay.
you. So you got
Me and
voted
Ben.
on
yeah, I got
this way.
I got the,
Yeah.
yeah.
Last one. to-
You're slow.
Well,
So
I asked the question and everybody went. So
Jeez.
that was that.
Wow, this is off to a great start, guys.
Yeah.
it's usually the way it goes, Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah. We build momentum.
I was hoping by dedicating the report to Ren, we get him back on. 'Cause
I've already hit him up twice,
He said no.
How many people do you want on it?
at least 5.
I'll serve as staff for it.
We could,
Of course,
well, we'll talk about this as part of this. But
We can
Yeah.
advertise too.
we could advertise, we could do some,
do some.
Put on the
applications,
website.
Quick
exactly,
applications,
yeah.
get some
Yep.
interest parties. Okay.
So the only
right.
thing I wanted to say about the zoning projects is just that we used to have a standing land use ordinance review committee that was separate from the planning board. It was a standing subcommittee of the planning board. I was on that for several years and we didn't get a whole lot done. But now that we've sort of reorganized and things are structured a little bit better and we have like clear path forward about needs and goals and desires and whatnot, both inside and outside of the comp plan, might be worth thinking about that again. As much as I loathe the idea of creating yet another committee we can't fill. The planning board isn't keen to take on that.
Thanks.
Right, so then with this, we need to just go through it and let Kevin know what our like top 5 are.
Not to that, I'll send
mean,
you,
not right
I'll send
now.
you a survey to say, once I'll redraft this based on some of the comments that were made tonight.
Mhm.
If you have other items, let me know now or it's not a forever hold your peace, but it's now or in the next couple of days, so I can create that list, send it back to you as essentially a survey question.
Yep.
And then I'll compile it for the next meeting.
All right.
And you can formalize, these are our priorities as a select board,
So-
individually and as a select board.
I noted 4 things that are gonna be added: cemetery, housing, finance committee, and comp plan implementation committee.
I have.
And
the-
higher
And the
time.
bidding ordinance, I have
And-
finance committee bidding ordinance, combining 4 and 13, strategy on developing more housing, ordinance on short-term rental, cemetery committee, and complement implementation.
Sure. Yeah. Sounds good.
Excellent.
Anything else?
It's a pretty good
Okay.
start.
This is a good start. If you amend that, I think, and we wanna add things.
You can,
Yeah.
always bring it back up and
Yeah.
say, you know what, our priorities have shifted.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Alrighty, on to 7A, Town Planner Services Contract.
Yes, and I gave you one more sheet. It has some redlining in there. This is, Peter at the last hour gave me some modifications to one of the elements of it. And then I've also, you'll see I crossed out reduction of that he had added.
Reduce.
I had a
Or-
conversation with Andy Dorr, the town manager in Damascotta, and said, would you consider this a friendly amendment? Because it is just clarifying
Right.
a sentence that he and I both, I guess, as who look at these things too much, didn't realize that, someone like Peter would say, no, you need to clarify this more. So that's what Peter suggested. Andy said, if you take out the reduce. So I think if we wanted to reduce his hours from 20 to 10, we'd have to essentially get out of the contract.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not just reduce it to 10 and then stick
Makes sense.
Damascotta with
Yeah.
the bill.
Yeah.
So it's either we're in or we're not, or we're gonna modify it in some other way, but
Yeah.
it won't be under this contract.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
If you want to take a motion to support this, I'd appreciate it. You can just say, as amended.
as amended.
Should we, is there more to talk about and review on this, do you think?
Did anyone have any?
I
other
mean, I want to
questions on
say,
it,
I want
or-
to say thank you to you, Tor, and for
Mhm.
Rob for stepping up while you didn't have a town manager to negotiate this contract
Mhm.
with Damascotta and negotiate the fees associated with it.
Yeah.
Few bucks saved, but that's gonna go right to our MPOG bill. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yes.
exactly. But I think,
Let's take it out
um,
of this pocket. and the other
put it in this
pocket.
pocket.
I think this worked out just so, to our best benefit, so.
Yep.
I think we've got a good planner coming aboard.
And I spent
Great
some time with
planner.
him and Andy on Thursday last week to really talk about our expectations of, timing this office versus that office and providing some flexibility for him so that he isn't only taking vacations on our time and vice versa. So.
Right.
We got through a bunch of that on Thursday. last
Good,
week.
good. Does anybody have any other questions on this or any comments or anything?
I'd like to move that we accept the agreement between the town of Newcastle and town of Damascotta for planning services as amended.
As amended.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Does any, no more discussion? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Long time coming, Ben, right?
Yeah.
All right, 7B, developing a fish ladder agreement with Nobleboro.
So moved.
All right.
This one's all you, Karen.
All right. So I went to the Nobleboro Select Board meeting. I know, on Wednesday. And they are all in for getting together an agreement with us finally after 200 years of not having one. And they just want to have a small group work on it. So don't know who else wants to do it. I mean, certainly Jim Brinkler would be there. I don't,
I'll jump in on that.
all right, you and I,
Yeah.
or you or I, whoever wants to go to meetings.
Yeah. I need some too.
I'll go.
Yeah, I'll
It'll
go.
be fun.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be good. I'm into it.
Okay. So it's just, it's been a long time, so we want to address how towns share in the monies, how the people that work on the fish ladder are compensated without getting too specific. We don't have to change it too often, but they're ready to do it. So.
Great.
All right, then how about Kevin gave us a motion to appoint Karen and Joel as Newcastle representatives. I guess Jim Brinkler too. I mean, he's already on fish ladder, but
Yep.
I guess we can
Yep.
include him to appoint as a representative to joint town working group to develop a fish ladder operations and capital needs agreement for the respective select boards to consider. Have a motion to do that.
So moved.
Anyone second it? Oh, we'll give Rufus, let Rufus
Yep,
do
yep.
one tonight. All right. Any discussion? Yes,
So one question,
yes.
are you gonna seek to try and make it a true interlocal agreement?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Well, I mean, yeah, yes,
Thank you.
One more, yes.
I just,
yes.
I prefer something on that level of officialness instead of back of the napkin stuff.
Oh,
Ab-
yes.
Absolutely.
Will be.
Yep. I don't want to put time into it to just
Yeah.
do it on the back of a napkin. Let's do it right.
It's been that way for.
200 and probably 220 something at this point, so. All right, then anything else? Nope, all in favor? This is 5-0. Then 7C, VHB scope of work and contract for Lynch Road or engineering. Kevin, you want to tell us how this came about?
So a little preface. May of this year, you had a severe storm that basically compromised the culvert on Lynch Road. And I've learned quite a bit about some of the circumstances that led to that and why we're now kind of stuck. So VHB was solicited literally the next like they were there 5 a.m. to come look at it and make some recommendations about how to make it safe. Not to the full weight limit, but to some extent to allow traffic to continue to cross it for now. That led to what's this contract in front of you. I've learned since I got started. I would like to encumber what's left in technical. And I can do that already. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. This is sort of out of the scope of your bidding ordinance, in part because of its emergency use need. But I wanted to hear from you, and I didn't want to just go sign this without knowing that this is okay to proceed. Timelines are a bit of an issue. The federal government did authorize the May storm in Maine for like 5 of the counties last, what was the 6th, Thursday? So I did find out that we are included in that. We have about preliminary about $2 million to address storm related to this event. The issue is, again, the timing. Have to make sure we get the engineering done for a future replacement. Replace as is essentially what I have learned that the federal government will pay for. I asked the engineer to show us a couple of different scenarios. If there's a cost difference, I might come to the select board and say, long term, it may be better just to replace with something a little more substantial, and we figure out a way to cover the additional gap. I have learned that FEMA may cover some of that, but not all of it. So there are still a lot of things in the air. After putting this in the packet, thinking more about it, and having some more conversations, including with Rob from the VHB, I understand where we are and the request to just say, give me the authority to sign this. That it kind of doesn't fall in the bidding ordinance.
Well, if we put it out to bid, we're delaying everything by a month or more.
Correct.
At this point. right?
correct.
And they're ready to get started
Yeah.
like last week.
Yeah.
Yes, that and the retaining wall, the Liberty, is that right around
Oh,
here?
yeah.
Oh,
So they
Liberty's
can do
still
that.
open.
They can do that too. If
Yeah.
while they're here, they can at least get that started. So that's that question.
That's right. Well, that's a separate engineering.
It's a separate engineering. So do I
Yeah.
just, they're gonna be here. Do I bring them on?
But
Did
I
we
don't know
budget for
about
that?
I feel like,
We haven't budgeted for it.
No.
I don't know about that. I think we should address that
Yeah,
separately.
we did.
Did-
Yeah, we did.
did we?
budgeted
We
for in. Put that in this year's budget.
Oh, it's in the capital?
It's under.
Just-
Works.
Just the
No, no,
engineering,
we have consulting in.
Yeah.
not the
It's-
repair, just the
And
engineering.
it,
Yeah,
just
the-
it was,
Okay.
just to be clear, it was 30 last year and it's been reduced to 10 this year.
And there's another $100,000 expense.
To do that,
For the Liberty,
Yeah,
oh, no,
solely Liberty.
like 92, 94.
yeah,
Same
we need
as
to
this
talk
one
more
then.
about that. It's,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah.
so let me move forward. Can I
I'm not
move forward with
comfortable.
Lynch or the Lynch Road
Yes.
Absolutely.
due to timing, and I'll hold off on Liberty for now.
There's a difference. Lynch Road is an emergency. Liberty Street, we've been talking about it for years, so.
It
by
needs to be
definition,
done.
It's not an emergency,
Right.
but it does need to be addressed. Yeah.
Is there a retaining wall somewhere that's having issues?
It's kind of, it's not an overpass or a culvert system, but it's a really large retaining. That's
Okay.
holding up part of the road.
All right, then by motion to authorize town manager to sign the VHB contract. Yes, gonna have to,
Well, this is paid for so this is essentially all the storm cleanup costs. I don't have anywhere to pay for it. So this is one of those. I'm able to encumber 17 for the first half of that, or
Fee.
first third of that, fifth of that.
fifth of that, yeah.
And then the rest of it, I think that and this I can pay for now. and overspend out of a budget line. But we're either gonna have to just sit on it and wait for FEMA to reimburse us, or at some point move money out of fund balance to pay for it and then recoup ourselves
I
later.
think the idea would be to have that total amount and then go to have a special town meeting to move that money and then
Okay.
get it back.
So, and that's what I meant by the additional element of the motion was start that process to start
Yep.
developing this,
Yes.
Yep.
community understanding of what we're doing.
Cause that's been the. Yeah,
And we
Yes.
may very well have a special town meeting in the fall anyway for the historic preservation
I think
ordinance.
this would be a separate thing I think we'd have to do. for-
Different warrant article.
Yeah.
But on the same warrant,
Could be, yeah.
hopefully.
Right, and it's easier to have one special town meeting than a couple,
Okay.
but, all right, so then the rest of the motion then? Right,
Mr.
to begin-
Carey- Mr. Carey has a question.
Oh, now,
Going through the document packet. Is rest of you folks think that the amount of potential drilling needs to be potentially beefed up?
they were doing two
Yeah, that, does that
samples.
make,
I don't know.
make sense to you?
So
it could
VHB is the same
so
company
limited?
did the work on Route 1 when they did it on the other end. And his concern is that they're gonna hit marine clay, which means that they do have to do pylons down. So those two borings will tell them the type of soil that we're dealing with. So two is fine.
But the entire
There- it-
site,
For the entire site, the two borings will tell them what they're gonna have to do in order for it to be engineered to be safe. It's mostly just to collect the soil samples, but they don't need to do multiple beyond the 2 or 3 or whatever with the
Two.
contract.
And they want to know what bedrock is.
Correct. How deep down.
and what is the profile of the bedrock? I mean, are you?
So they don't really, my understanding of doing these kinds of borings and other projects is they don't really try to. It's, ledge can undulate and dip in very aggressive manners, so. Unless you take the borings every 5 feet on the grid, you're not gonna know the profile, but it gives you a general sense of. Where
How
it
deep down
is,
to go.
yeah.
You just lost. Some of those. People that took the first one in. Really hadn't. Known what the bottom was really like.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
not
know what
really
I don't know what the data question was for that. Case, I'm just, and I honestly, I defer to. The road
Engineers.
commissioner on
Yeah.
this and, Yeah.
It was just something that jumped out at me.
Yeah.
Yep.
no, it's a good question, but
Chosen design was the issue from before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not how deep.
I think I agree.
And my only question on this was, how many people actually looked up the definition of Thalway? I did. Did anyone else look it up? You
What is
guys all knew what it meant?
Karen, you're an overachiever. in most cases. So What did you find out?
Oh, a Thalweg is the lowest point between a couple of in a valley or water course
Okay,
that's connecting things. It's like where the stream would go in a valley.
yeah, okay.
I don't know why they didn't call it that. I don't know. Never heard Thalweg before, but
That's why they get paid the big bucks.
that's true. That's true.
As opposed to the thread of the street.
Right,
Which is a different.
right.
So Joel, your word of the day is Thalweg.
Thalweg. I'm gonna use that as.
Thalweg. All right, then, starting over then, do I have a motion to authorize the town manager to sign the VHB contract and begin the process of moving funds to cover this expense and other emergency expenses related to the May storm?
So moved.
Moved by Joel,
I'll second that.
seconded by Tor. Yes, Ben.
How you gonna move the funds?
That's not what I'm doing today.
No, I know, but I'm asking the board, under what authorization are they moving the funds?
They're
Well,
not,
I think special meeting.
Yeah,
we just talked,
for the engineering. though.
He's gonna,
I'm just gonna overspend a budget
Yep.
line for now, and we'll move the money at a later date. It's an emergency.
Yeah, we're not allowed to do that.
Here we are.
Oh. You have to, you
We are.
have, for an emergency like that,
I'll spend it out of an account where it has $93.
$93,000.
Yeah, spend it out of one of the accounts that has that.
Right.
Reimburse it later.
But we don't have, through our annual warrant article, we don't have a mechanism that authorizes the overspending of any budget line.
What do you do in an emergency then, Ben?
We allow 2% to be moved from one to another budget line item. And after that, we have to go to special town meeting.
Well, wait, we'll have to remove 2% from one category.
But I'm
Correct.
not, I'm only looking at the retainer at this,
I know.
which I have access to.
We have consulting.
I have
If
it,
you have it in a budget line.
I'm signing
item,
a contract today
Yeah,
that says we're gonna do this.
And we
Money
have
hasn't
that
been
money.
spent.
yeah, no, I get it. But we have that amount of money in that budget line?
We have the
We have the
retainer.
retainer in that budget line.
We do.
The other monies are not allocated in here yet.
So,
That's all I was getting at.
yeah, I mean, so
I just wanted to know, do you want me to sign this contract? And we'll work through the process to make sure that the money is
Yeah.
there. We can do this.
I think, well, rather than wait until the fall, I don't know what the timeline of billing cycle on this, but it may proceed.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna-
October.
It sounds like
So,
it will then.
I think we just,
Yep.
a special town meeting in 7 days, we can have that meeting and move the
Yeah.
funds.
No, I think.
Whenever
Yep.
it would be an emergency meeting.
Because we have
Yep.
our bills collected for the,
Yep.
for the cost up to this point. And
I only mention it because we've gotten in trouble in the past where we've been faced with an emergency and we just spend the money with no regard for the rules. And then our auditors and whatnot come and say, hey, what the hell?
No, yeah.
So we will. Special town meeting then. All right. Anything else? All right, all in favor? This is 5-0.
see else. Turn in there.
All right. Kevin, you're on with the town manager's report.
I provided you a document earlier this afternoon, and typically I try to get this out along with the council packet. It's just been a little bit of a whirlwind for me. It's up to you. Do you want me to read it? Do you want me to just give you the bullet points? And of course, I don't even have it up, so.
I know, it's making me sign in again. Same way. Has everybody had a chance to read it? Otherwise, we can just do kind of bullet points.
And I can just tell you about the other two
Yep.
items that are, how about I just mention the other two? This will be up on the website. But the other two that I wanted to share were, I mentioned it already, but the declaration of May Day severe storm last Thursday gives us some ability to maybe recoup our funds for Lynch Road and these other repairs, which equal about $110,000 worth of cleanup. The Historic Preservation Committee Working Group,
Preservation Working, yeah.
Preservation Working Group,
Yep.
Historic Preservation, have drafted a historic preservation ordinance. They're going to do they did a mailer, we put together a mailer, sorry. I gave you each a copy of it. It went in the mail to everybody who's in the historic district today. There is a meeting on July 26th at 6 PM at Lincoln Academy. Folks are invited to come and hear a presentation about what this ordinance is, what it means for Newcastle. And ideally, this will be on a future town meeting. Obviously not one that will have to happen in the next couple of weeks, but one that can happen maybe in the fall.
Yep.
Those are the two additional that I added.
Everything else is good.
Any questions on those other items that are on there?
The Sheepscot Station furnace
The boiler
boiler.
shot, and we're gonna chase down some efficiency main monies to
I'm just,
replace it.
in reading that was curious. Are fire stations using heat pumps to heat their garage bays? Is that a thing that other stations are doing? I'm just concerned about the ability of a heat pump to recoup the temperature after the big doors have been opened. Heat pumps are good at maintaining a temperature. They're not great at bringing it back up.
Mhm.
And I'm just a little, like, I love heat pumps, don't get me wrong. I'm just concerned that the application may not be great here. I'd like to see other towns that are doing it.
I'll bring it up with, I'll bring it up with Casey and we'll do some work. to
Okay,
Give you some
Research.
more information.
that's all.
And do we have hope that the audit's gonna happen? I mean, it sounded like
In
we
a
do.
few months.
I had a conversation with our former auditor and we're just collecting some of the information that's necessary to get us in compliance.
Mhm.
So it'll take us another month or two to get 22 taken care of. And then we'll roll right into trying to get 23 accomplished. I know that's,
They thought they could get to it in the next couple of months.
yes, I do think our timing is okay for getting 22 taken care of.
Okay.
And then you'll get back into the regular rhythm for 28. I'm pretty happy about that. The conversations I've had with FEMA, the conversations I've had with DEP, so things are progressing along.
Good. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to fiscal warrants. Get to it. So we have one for our last fiscal year ending and then one for the
Yeah,
beginning.
and
of
there'll be
this.
one more. I specifically put the end of fiscal year warrant 1. There'll be a end of fiscal year warrant 2. Which will be retroactively put back to the last budget, but there are a few things, including this encumbered the 17K for retainer for the HB.
Oh, right.
The other thing I didn't put in there that I wish I had was our attorney's retainer as well, but I'll include that in the next one.
Okay. All right, so do I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 23 end of year warrant 1 for $38,520.44?
So moved.
By Joel, second by Tom. The only thing else, I did notice there was one page that was in there twice. But not that it matters, the total amount of money's fine. That was kind of weird.
Okay.
All right, any discussion, anybody have any questions? Nope, all right, all in favor? Passes 5-1. Right, and then fiscal year 24 first warrant for $5,671.81. Do I have a motion to approve
So
that?
moved.
Joel, seconded by Tor. Anyone questions? Comments? Nope. All right, then all in favor of approving that. It's 5-0. All right, then do I have a motion to go into executive session under MRSA section 405-6A personnel?
So moved.
Second.
Joel, seconded by Tor. All in favor? Passes 5-0. Thank you.
You guys are gonna have